Thanks for joining us here at Rose Quartz Mediumship podcast, where we simply adore anything and everything healing and metaphysically based. We have a cat named Hope, who we adopted a couple years ago for my son's birthday. He had been desperately wanting a cat, and so for his birthday, we got him a rescue. And just a little bit about Hope. We adopted her from an adoption center where she was found out in the woods with no mom and no siblings. And I loved her story so deeply that we ended up picking her. And she has been a wonderful cat, but she's a little bit neurotic. She has some idiosyncrasies and a lot of anxiety. She's a really nervous cat. And during the summer months, when we have our doors wide open, she loves to go outside and loves to roam around our property. But the second that you close a door, she has massive anxiety and will come running back to the house and will be very, very frenetic about needing to get in. Some of our other cats will just sit on the 3-season porch or will curl up and fall asleep waiting for us to come and open the door. There is no immediate need for them to come in. But with Hope, there's this urgency. There's this immediate need as soon as the door shuts. And as a result, I'm really mindful about making sure that I let her in if she happens to go outside. And as spring progressed here in New England, it became lighter and lighter and nicer out longer in the evening. And our other cats decided to start sleeping outside, hunting, doing whatever it is that they do. And in the morning, they would be on the 3-season porch asleep and excited to come back in. And I started to notice that when I would let Hope out in the afternoon or evening, she would stay out longer and longer. And I would find myself getting ready for bed and going down and checking to let her in 3 or 4 or 5 times. And it became a source of irritation for me. On the 4th or 5th time downstairs to check to let her in, noticed that I was getting irritated. And so one night, I couldn't find her. She wasn't coming back in. And I said, fine, stay outside. And there was agitation in my system. And when I was able to really kind of sit with that agitation, I recognized that there was fear there. I really genuinely love this cat. And I didn't want her to be traumatized. I didn't want her to be scared all night long, waiting on the porch, just hoping that somebody would come and let her back in. And I sat with that and recognized that that was just one story, and that I could create a different story in my mind, one that might serve me better. And so I kind of sat in meditation and really looked at the story that I was telling and the story that I wanted to tell. And I ended up telling a different story. That by her staying out that night, it was going to give her the opportunity to work through her emotions around being outside. And I knew that there was trauma there, right? Not sure how it is that she was left in the woods, but she was found as a little tiny kitten, just days old, in the woods with no mom and no siblings. So I can only imagine what happened there. And I can only imagine what it was like for her to have no mom, to have no siblings, to have no source of food or drink. So I can understand her anxiousness about needing to make sure that she was coming back to her safe space. But my involvement in that response, that trauma response for her, may have been preventing her from creating a different story for herself, that she could be outside, that she could love it, that she could feel safe, that she could spend all night outside like the other cats do, enjoying nature. We live in a beautiful, beautiful place in New Hampshire, and we have an enormous backyard. And our cats can roam around our farm. And the reality is that she's missing out on a lot of beauty that her life could hold. She's missing out of all the fun that happens with the other cats at night. She's missing out on the magic of the evening and the fresh air. And so I created a new story that night. I created the story that maybe she would be scared, and maybe there would be some moments of urgency for her. And when she worked through that, she was likely going to really enjoy herself. And so I went to bed, and I left her outside. And I will tell you that I didn't sleep well. And when I got up the next morning, it was still dark out, and I opened the door, and she came running in. And she was so happy. She was so happy. And I pet her, and she went and she ate. And then we moved about our day. And frequently throughout the day, we will open up the doors to the back side of our house so that the animals can come in and out, and the breeze can come in and out. And so the door was open, and that's typical in our house. And normally she would lay just inside or just outside of the door. But I noticed that day that instead of being right by the house, she was out in the yard. And so I paused, and I really watched her, and she was calm. There wasn't frenetic energy like there normally had been for her. And then that night, she wanted to go back outside. And she spent another night outside. And then another, and then another. And it became clear that her preference was to actually be outside. And it was a really, really beautiful experience for me to recognize the role that I was playing in her trauma response. That I was catering so deeply to my fear of her discomfort that I wasn't allowing her the opportunity to work through her discomfort and recognize that she could feel safe outside. I was robbing her of that because I was trying to protect her from feeling discomfort. And so it was a really beautiful opportunity for me to really sit and look at that inside of myself, where that pattern shows up in other places in my life, and then just from a bigger zoomed out view, that so frequently we rob ourselves of the opportunity for adventure and exploration and growth because we're afraid of a little bit of discomfort. And sometimes the people who are around us who love us the most are also scared of our discomfort. And on the other side of discomfort could be freedom. We really love having you here with us at Rose Quartz Mediumship Podcast, and I hope that you have a beautiful morning, day, evening, or night, wherever it is that this is finding you.